अब आउँदै हुनुहुन्छ हाम्रो उनै भाइ समिरन धिमाल आफ्नो प्रस्तुति लिएर मसँग शीर्षक रहेन रहेछ के शीर्षकमा बोल्नुहुन्छ उहाँले स्वयं भन्नुहुन्छ। ध्यान दिएर सुन्नु होला है त। हाम्रो नानी बाबुहरूले हाम्रो संस्कार संस्कृति यी नानीहरूले बुझेनन् भने अब हामी 30 वर्ष 40 वर्ष 50 वर्षका भइसक्यौँ। अब भोलि यी नानीहरूको काँधमा यो समाज जान्छ। त्यतिखेर यी नानीहरूलाई हामीले जिम्मेवारी दिएनौँ भने, उनीहरूको काँधमा हामीले यो धर्म संस्कार संस्कृति हस्तान्तरण गरेनौँ भने के हुन्छ होला अबको 20 वर्ष पछाडि, अबको 30 वर्ष पछाडि। आज जसरी समाजमा जुन प्रकारले हामी धर्म विकास गरिरहेका छौँ भन्दै नानीहरूलाई यहाँ जानु हुँदैन, त्यहाँ जानु हुँदैन, यो छोड्नु हुँदैन, यसो नगर भनेर पर्काइरहेछ, परपर खेदिरहेका छौँ। त्यसले के हामी नानीहरूलाई हाम्रो धर्म संस्कार हस्तान्तरण गर्न सक्छौँ होला? सोच्ने दिन आएको छ र त्यो सोच्ने काम GBHO ले गरिरहेको छ। हामीसँग हिजो मात्रै हामीले यहाँनिर एनाउन्स गर्यौँ GBHO जुनियर बोर्ड। अब त्यसको नेतृत्व लिएर नानीहरूले सम्पूर्ण कर्महरू गर्नुहुनेछ। अगाडिका नानीहरूलाई हामीलाई तयारी गर्नुहुनेछ। त्यो मध्येको एकजना लिडर हुनुहुन्छ समिरन धिमाल, उहाँलाई स्वागत गर्छु।
Radha everybody. Thank you to GBHO. Thank you to the gurus, the swamis, and the respected guru matas here for giving me this opportunity to speak. We all know GBHO has struggled and persevered to help serve our community. And not just that, they do so much to the point where we as kids need to do all these things. However, GBHO has given us facilities for that. Let's give GBHO one big round of applause for that. We all follow Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma in itself, Sanatana means forever, Dharma means the way of life, our purpose. Sanatana Dharma meaning forever the way of our life. And in Sanatana Dharma, we learn this thing called Dharma in itself, what our purpose of life is. And one thing we learn from Sanatana Dharma is that our Dharma is not given at your birth, it's determined from within you. Chapter 4, verse 13 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram api mam vidya kartaram avyayam. Everything starts from your mind. Everything starts from your gunas and the way your consciousness works. If you yourself don't understand your mind, if you yourself don't understand your gunas, then what's the point of dharma? It literally becomes a pointless ritual without its meaning. Afno swabhav na bujhe pachi dharma ko ke artha? Artha bina matra khali riti rivaj bन्छ. Sattvam rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibadhnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Chapter 14, verse 5 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Without understanding your gunas, without understanding your mind, you're doing without becoming. You're creating habits that are pretending to be faith. Without understanding your gunas, you're creating habits that are pretending to be faith. And the reason for that is because gunas just explain how you act. Your mind just explains how you act, not who you are, because in truth, we are all truly the same. The gunas shift and are constantly changing. However, our true self, our true consciousness, our atma is not. Gunas mold how we behave. And whenever we confuse behavior and identity, whenever we confuse gunas and identity as the same thing, that's when discrimination happens. Caste discrimination, not just in our culture, but everywhere on this earth, because we as human beings confuse gunas and identity as the same thing. However, when you realize that these two are complete polar opposites, then you realize discrimination was never needed in the first place. And all of us have the same moods of the mind, the same gunas. Satvik, our calm state, Rajas, our work ethic, and Tamas, our resting state. However, we are not bound to one of these for the rest of our lives. Like I said earlier, the gunas are shifting and constantly changing. Without an equal balance of all these three, we would not be alive on this earth breathing today. Chapter 5, verse 18 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shunicheva swapakecha pandita samadarshinaha. This is my father's favorite verse. Chapter 5, verse 18 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I really want to emphasize that last line. And to all the kids around my age, whether you're 8 or you're 16, please listen up. This is very important. In that last line, pandita samadarshinaha, Krishna tells us If you put an ant, an elephant, and a human being in front of a pandit, he will not say this is an ant, this is a human. He will say these are all animals. He sees oneness in all. So why can't we do that? Why do we have to see others differently just because of their caste? The caste just dictate what work you are fit for. In no way, shape, or form should it or shall it dictate what you think your purpose in life is, your dharma. It shouldn't dictate your connection to God, to rituals, to language, to culture. Because all these things are for you to determine yourself. And all of these things, like I just said, they're all for you to determine yourself. In the Kanada Sutra, it says, Yato bhyudayanishreyaha sasiddhissa dharmaha. This tells us what dharma is. Dharma is the reason we wake up. Dharma is the reason we work. Dharma is the reason we strive to live. In a dharma we all share as human beings is to help others. Yet we still restrict others from having that connection with God. Does that not contradict dharma in itself? In my mind, I believe that dharma, if we use this knowledge, it can help us remove these restrictions from our culture, remove these delusions from our culture. And this needs to stop. Discrimination just because of looks, just because of a caste, just because of letters on a paper. Like I just said, in my mind, I believe that we as in a community, we as in a Nepali Samaj, we as in the children of God, lack knowledge. Knowledge will help us remove these restrictions, remove this delusion from our culture. And I believe that real dharma allows us to allow others to practice the dharma they follow, not the dharma we force onto them. Once again, I will say that. I believe that dharma, real dharma, allows us to allow others to practice what dharma they follow, not the one we force them to. And knowing our dharma, knowing our purpose on this earth, it does something to our gunas. It does something to your mind. It helps you understand that our true consciousness, our true self, our atma, is not the gunas. It shows us that the gunas, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, our calm state, our working state, and our resting state, are all just what dictate our actions. In no way, shape, or form will it ever dictate who you are as a human being. And all of these things, it will never dictate who you are as a human being because your dharma is set. And GBHO is a live example of this. They're living proof that it is possible to not measure someone by their caste, to not judge someone based on their label, status, or background. They use both ethics and spirituality simultaneously, like Bhagavan says in chapter 3, verse 9 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Yajñartha karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangas samachara. In this verse, Bhagavan tells us, no matter what duties you do, use both ethics and spirituality simultaneously in your work. And GBHO is a live example of this. They use both ethics and spirituality 100% of the time. And because of that, once again, one big round of applause for GBHO. This is a quite literal seva that they're doing. And seva in itself is such a beautiful word. It has such a beautiful trait that though it has hundreds and hundreds, heck, even thousands of synonyms in English, you still can't define it. You still can't fully understand it because of this one trait it has. You do without expecting. Chapter 2, verse 47 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuhu ma te sangosva karmani. This verse, for those who have been in Gita class, Bhanuvanti always said, think of this verse 24/7 as it's chapter 2, verse 47 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We always do something for something else in return. You may have given your friend that pencil for a piece of gum in return. You may have done puja to Saraswati Mata before a test to get good grades. I know all of you guys have done that before. However, when we do these things without expecting anything in return, this is what seva is. Because you're doing for the greater well-being of the world, not the greater well-being of yourself. Samasta lokaha, let the road have peace, let the road prosper. When you do for the greater well-being of the world, you have no high or lows. You have no I did this much, I served this many people. That thought of I, that egoism edging God out, or in Sanskritam we call it ahamkaram, it vanishes. It completely vanishes. And in seva, you never post about what you did for fame. You don't give your friend that pencil for a piece of gum in return. You do these things out of the love of your heart. And whenever your ahamkaram turns into aham brahmasmi, whenever your consciousness goes from me and mine to we and ours, that's when helping becomes your second nature. And what I want to tell everyone here, regardless of your age, gender, caste, last name, let's all help each other. Let's all make helping our second nature, because that's when we all realize helping others is you helping yourself. You helping others is you indeed helping yourself. And me, speaking for all of us quote-unquote Gen Z kids, how are we supposed to do our dharma of keeping our culture if the parents and adults here themselves are starting to forget it? To all the adults here, if you yourselves are starting to forget our language, our culture, our rituals, then how are we as Gen Zs supposed to keep, preserve, live, correct, and understand Sanatana Dharma? We cannot. Without understanding our Dharma, if we preserve our culture without understanding its meaning, then what's the point? Like I said in the beginning, it becomes a pointless ritual without its meaning. Anima, हामी सबै तथाकथित जन्जी पुस्ताको तर्फबाट बोल्दैछु। यदि यहाँका आमा बुबा र वयस्करहरूले नै आफ्नो संस्कृति बिर्सिन थाल्नु भएको हो भने, आफ्नो भाषा बिर्सिन थाल्नु भएको हो भने, सनातन धर्म बिर्सिन थाल्नु भएको हो भने, हामी जन्जीहरू हाम्रो संस्कृतिलाई संरक्षण गर्ने र बचाउने धर्म कसरी पूरा गर्ने? यहाँ सबै उपस्थित आदरणीय वयस्करहरूलाई मेरो प्रश्न छ, यदि तपाईहरुले नै आफ्नो संस्कृति बिर्सिन थाल्नु भएको हो भने र सनातन धर्मको बारेमा पर्याप्त ज्ञान छैन भने, हामी जन्जीहरू, हामी बालबालिकाहरू संस्कृतिलाई कसरी पूरा गर्ने, कसरी जोगाउने? Yes, I do understand that we all are born to die. Yes, I do understand this. However, in between that cycle of birth and death, we need to understand that we need to follow our dharma. To all the Gen Z kids here, all the kids my age, our quote-unquote Gen Z naniyaru, we're all confused on what culture to adapt to. Should we fall into acculturation and follow Western culture? Should we follow Eastern culture like where we were born from, where our culture really is? And what I want to say is in chapter 3, verse 35, Aradhana said this verse earlier too. Shreyan svadharmo vigunaha paradharmat svanushthitat svadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. In this verse, Bhagavan says, it is far better to do your own duties perfectly. It is far better to do your own duties with faults than to do another man's duty perfectly. Once again, I will say this. It is far better to do your own dharma with faults than to do another man's duty perfectly. This has that answer. We should follow our Eastern culture because dharma is absolute. Just like a cow's dharma has to give us milk, just like the sun's dharma has to give us warmth, dharma is absolute. We need to follow our Eastern culture, the root culture that we came from. Maybe you forget 700 verses out of the 18,000 in Mahabharata. It's far better to do that than to fall into acculturation. Maybe you forget some steps of some rituals. It's far better to do that than to fall into acculturation. Because in chapter 18, verse 66 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Sarva dharman parityaja, forget about your labels, forget about your fame and your name. Mamekam sharanam braja, surrender to Bhagavan. Aham tvam sarva papebhyaha moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. Once you surrender to Bhagavan, all the consequences of your actions will fall onto him. Because of this, we should not be afraid to follow our culture. We should not be afraid to wear tika at school. We should not be afraid to wear kurta outside of our homes, outside of the functions. And all of this, I do understand that we are all born to die. I do understand that. However, in between that cycle of birth and death, we should live our life to its fullest. Like Hyojuro Rengoku once said, if you're ever feeling disheartened, thinking you're somehow not enough, set your heart ablaze. Radha Radhe, thank you to all. Thank you to GBHO. Thank you to the gurus, the swamis, and the respected guru matas. To Yogi Shri Kim Katiwara Gurudev, Parbat Gurudev, GBHO President, Mr. Kamal Dhimal. Please raise your hand. Everybody, as I say your name, stand up. My parents, all my friends from Gita class, you guys stand up. Don't be afraid. All my friends from Gita class, to Bhanawanti, to Narasimhan Uncle, and especially to Ankit Dada. He's the person who helped me grow. And to my father's in meditation right now, but he's the person in the white dress right there. I want to give a big thanks to him. And last but not least, thank you to Bhagavan. Radha Radhe, thank you all.
फेरि एकपटक तालीले स्वागत गरौँ, धन्यवाद दिउँ हाम्रो समिरन भाइलाई। मैले अघि नै भने हाम्रो GBHO म्युजिक स्कुल, योग गुरुकुल, विभिन्न क्षेत्रमा हामी काम गरिरहेका छौँ। हाम्रा भोलिका नेतृत्ववर्ग उनीहरू, भोलिका हाम्रा कर्णधार हुन्।